Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Week 5, Day 6 of the LPL. We're coming in for our final game of tonight between WE and TOP. Currently 1-1 in this series. And WE, I mean, we really have to look at xiye in this one, because this guy has just literally been 1v9. He is trying his heart out. And as Raz was saying, it feels like he's got 1.5 MVPs in this one, because he is doing everything for WE.
And we do have to talk about the re-evaluation of xiye. Before, in the previous splits, when we talked about the big mid laners in the LPL, we really were thinking about likes of the rookie, like Xiaohu. But when it was about xiye, we were like, I'm not sure he's really up there with these two. But in this split, if you look at the number of MVPs he's gotten so far, there's only been 2 times where WE, in a win, the MVP wasn't given to xiye. He's basically been the best player on the team, even over his teammate right here, Mystic.
9 MVPs is absolutely absurd. We're in Week 5 as well. It feels difficult to say that anyone else would manage to pick up the MVP award this split if he keeps on getting those. But also, WE have selected blue side in this one, so we are expecting what could be a priority pick also for xiye.
Yeah, and we do have to talk about the ramifications of a blue side pick for WE, because this does give a very dangerous scenario over to TOP. This means MaRin can have that counter pick. In the previous game, when TOP were on the blue side, they weren't confident enough going into the split pusher because they feared there would be a counter pick. This time, they can wait until the last pick to really pick something for MaRin. That is a win condition in and of itself. For WE, this means that they're either confident enough to play the 4-1 head-on, and it also means that they have a priority first pick for xiye, excuse me, that can play the likes of Zoe or Azir.
Try and win through that angle as well and just have 957 say, well, you stop MaRin from running all over this game, try and stop him in his tracks, or even try and beat him if you want, you can do that too, but MaRin is still a major threat on the side of TOP that you have to be thinking about. And the rest of the map, usually it's like MaRin and then the rest of TOP, right? Yes. It's just like MaRin does like his own thing, and then TOP, you want to have a strong 4 right there, down in the bottom, but last time they had that Leona, and they also had the Kha'Zix as well, and it feels like things weren't really fitting together.
Yeah, that's the problem with, I think, TOP's strategy of going all in. It's that a lot of their members are fairly new, and they don't really teamfight at the level of someone as experienced as WE. And that's why I actually like the 4-1 composition for them a little better, because it's all eyes on MaRin. It's just let MaRin do his thing. And in the mic check, we could hear this going on as well. It's actually a very funny moment where Cat, after picking up their first win, realized, hey, we can win the game. We didn't even team fight. Oh, if we don't team fight, we win. Because they are playing the 4-1 split push, they just realized we just need to leave MaRin on his island, on his own, and just let him have his lane. We just stay as far away as possible, and we'll win.
But to be honest, that is a big revelation for TOP, previously Dan Gaming, because the only way that they essentially won before was the 20-minute Baron into fights and into pushing. It was just like, it was very gimmicky, and it was just like very one track. So the fact that they're now realizing, wait, we have more than one way to win this game. League of Legends is a way you can win in multifaceted. You know, you can win in different ways.
We have the way. We basically have the plug-and-play MaRin coming in from the top lane. And we can go on about this guy because he's probably, at this point, more famous than the team he's on himself, TOP. MaRin, when it comes to his legacy, I think that one thing he's really underrated for is his type of innovation. Really picking up the 2015 World Finals MVP on that Renekton, trying to innovate in a World Finalist stage. That's just incredible. And also, you talk about how ballsy he is. He's really known for the Amp Tone Rumble. The first item, Amp Tone Rumble. That was incredible watching him play that. I think if you think about his legacy, however, it is kind of hindered because he does have a couple of failed experiments. You talk about the Mundo and Afrika. Sure. You talk about the Morgana top lane. Those are some picks that I'm sure Papa Smithy would rather forget. So even though some of those experiments didn't work out, he is a big innovator. I'm really excited to see what he can bring on the LPL stage.
For sure. And, you know, we have top laners who are definitely the exception to the rule in terms of top lane picks. You know, it feels like we have tanks, but then we also have players who can play around those tanks. You know, we have like the Shy, we have MaRin now into the top lane. We have Casual with the Aatrox. Yeah, we definitely do have that, and you know, we have Ggoong with like the Urgot, but also you can play conventional stuff. You know, we have these top laners who are very much the exception. But it's almost to the point where we have more top laners who are the exceptions to the rule than the people who are actually like following the rule.
Yeah, it really has been about the meta so far. I feel like even though there's a lot of bruisers in this meta, they are kind of the exception picks, like Gangplank with the Gangplank and Camille. These are not your typical bruisers. That's why they've been able to survive in this meta. And because they're so strong in this meta, the counter picks to those champions are also pretty weird. Like we've seen Xiao run the Jax into the Camille, or trying to play the Kled into the Vladimir from Ggoong. So when you have this scenario where a lot of it is about focusing on counter picks, then you will have a lot of top lane players with very weird picks coming out.
Yeah, for sure. We do have a small delay on stage, it looks like, so bear with us. We should be getting into game very shortly, but you did just see on your screen Magic and Celestial just looking at those two players as we are just getting into Champions next. So very perfect timing, but yeah, these two players really need to just kind of... It doesn't matter how much they step up into the roles, though. That's like the problem, because it's like ultimately they have to live up to the legacy that is like Condi and Ben right now. And you know, we don't know when they're going to come back into the team, but it's just like you could be the best players ever to come back in, but WE are this team who a lot of their strength has come off the back of them being this one big happy family, you know, like the team never splits up. Like this is the team that's been together for the longest time. They had 100 games together, and now the fact that they aren't together, that's where all these problems are starting to happen. And TOP, we find a series like this where it's now 1-1. As we get into Champion Select, Zoe, Galio, and Ryze will be a triple ban towards that mid lane there for WE. And on the opposite side, it's going to be Tamkench, Azir, and Camille towards top.
So TOP really reading the draft the way we did. The first, the blue side selection from WE is all about their... is all about xiye and getting out on a champion that they're comfortable with. Zoe and Ryze instantly banned away, so that's off the table. They go for something that they can initiate with. This is Magic, one of his most played champions, and we can see how the rookie plays it.
Now getting him on comfort right here. A first pick once again of the Gnar. We saw this in game 1 out from MaRin, but it's not even like they're looking for that last pick right here.
They're going for the split push instantly. There aren't a lot of Gnar counters in the meta right now. Sure, you can play something like Yasuo, and this is something that Xiaohu kind of alluded to, like, I'm a great Yasuo player, but it really isn't 957's type to go into that champion, so it's a very safe pick that isn't going to be countered for MaRin.
At the same time, is able to split push and also join those team fights. Very similar to Kennen, but I would say significantly less risky. So we'll be able to pick that one up first and follow it with the Sejuani in for XX. So no more of that Kha'Zix, no more jumping in, dying. Couldn't really play around that. Whether that was an XX issue or a team issue, it looked like a bit of column A, bit of column B in that last game. So I like the fact they are moving away from that. Gangplank and Braum now coming in from WE.
And XX playing on Sejuani, this is the champion that he's most played so far, and it also is also the champion that won them the number game 1 for him. So this means that they are looking for that team fight potential against a composition from WE.
I'm now looking at the AD carry pick now from TOP. They are thinking about that Caitlyn. And we'll go down to Cat, or rather QiuQiu in the bottom lane, Chocho, I should say, in the bottom lane alongside Cat. 2 seconds left, and it will be the Caitlyn in the end.
And this should make Raz very happy. Going for the late game powerhouse pick in the Caitlyn, also has a very good laning phase at the start of the game. And this is a pick that, for me, WE should always be looking to pick up early. It fits their motto so well, but they typically leave Mystic on kind of a lower priority in terms of their ban pick phase. So it's going to be for them to come up with an answer here. Typically, it will be the Varus pick, but TOP have a very good chance to ban it away.
Going to be an Alistair ban there, and also a Cogmore ban, so Mystic will not get his hands on this one. Exactly what the analyst was talking about, plus a Kalista ban towards Mystic. So his AD carry pool is definitely dwindling right now, but there is still multiple AD carry picks that he is famous for. You could even see the Edge will come out here as well. And then looking towards Celestial and his choice of final ban for WE.
Yeah, and TOP really respecting the early game skirmish potential rather than the Varus pick. So they're really worried about a Kalista Braum into Jarvan combo, and that's why they're banning it away. But I feel like Varus is actually the better answer into a Caitlyn, and that will be up for WE. So good composition coming out from both sides here. They might be thinking just because Mystic isn't known as a Varus player that he simply will skip over that pick. But it's going to come down to if he's practiced enough on it. I
mean, that's a big gambit to make right now in the meta. It's just like, Varus, let's hope he doesn't play the super meta pick right now into Caitlyn, which happens to be a really good matchup for Varus.
It's a very big gamble to make, honestly. They have such a good composition with the Varus. You're talking about locking down the Janna right here. Varus does very well into that. You can ult her and then just follow up with all your CC. She doesn't really have a way of escape. She can push people away, but not really move herself. So it really does look like WE has a very good composition handed to them that has a very strong mid-game spike with the Triforce, with Taliyah, and with Varus if they decide to go into it.
Yeah, and Taliyah also locked in there, so that will be the case. Now WE also hovering the pick there. I think everyone watching this champion set was like, well, this is probably going to see this one coming from a mile away. It was also a Janna pickup alongside the Caitlyn here, playing into that Braum and a Varus, which has now just been locked in.
Yeah, it really is about how much pressure they can put on pre-6. After that, it's pretty much in WE's court. If you want to push in, then they have too many threats aimed at you. I don't think TOP's bot lane is going to be able to hold on to that pressure. So for TOP, just put as much pressure on you as you can before 6, but after that, they really have to back out.
That's going to be a last pick of the Corki, actually, right there for Ggoong playing into Taliyah right here. So now, double scaling threats now in from TOP.
Yeah, so TOP is really thinking about the ultra late game, where they have the more damage threat, the longer range as well coming out for their composition. But for WE, they have such a strong mid game. This is probably the best mid game you can draft in this meta. The Gangplank can help the bot lane, Taliyah can help the bot lane, and also when you have Jarvan, you have that unstoppable ult. A lot of times you can go into that Janna. It really looks like a death trap in the bottom lane for WE.
Now, I'll have to see if Chocho and his Janna, his cat, able to dodge a lot of these ganks coming out in the early game, because they probably will come before level 6 when Janna is able to get all of that disengaged, because Janna very annoying to gank for sure. I mean, Caitlyn also has a mini escape on top of that, so the Monsoon and the Howling Gale, so as they start to scale up, they will be able to try and get out of that one. But you're absolutely right, it seems like it will be very difficult in the early game right here for that bottom side, though we do look towards TOP, and it's just like, well, the 4 needs to not collapse, and then MaRin also needs to do well on the top lane. That's the MO currently of TOP.
Definitely, and it is a lot about how MaRin can punish this matchup of the Gnar into the Gangplank. We've seen good players like the Xiye able to win out on both sides of the matchup, and it's really up to MaRin to see if he can maybe draw attention away from the bot lane of TOP. The bot lane of TOP, historically, they haven't done very well. They've been one of the weaker bot lanes in the LPL, and now they're facing mounting pressure from this composition out from WE. So I don't really expect them to survive the mid-game onslaught unless MaRin can pull something off.
Yeah, it's essentially the name of the game right here, survival, through the early game, through the mid game as well. Early game will, I would say, a little bit easier, because you do have like Caitlyn, who is usually dominant in lane, will be able to stay back, not and essentially dominate the Varus, since Varus at the end of the day does very well into the Caitlyn. So it's essentially survival, get through the early game. But you're right, it's the mid game that we have to look at. WE, will they be able to just close out the game in the mid-game, look for like one of those 25, 30-minute wins? We'll find out as we get onto the rift for our third and final game of tonight.
You can see WE chants coming out. Definitely a lot louder on their side. Oh, maybe I'm wrong.
I will say that the amount of TOP fans that have definitely increased over the last couple weeks after MaRin came in. I remember that TOP and Vici game. It was almost a packed house, actually. Everyone wanted to see what was going to happen between EasyHoon and MaRin. These big players coming over from the LCK. So, yeah, you can always expect that people will be following those players around.
Definitely star power coming out from TOP. But let's take a look at xiye's stats right now. 14 kills. And 4 deaths, only 38% of his team's damage. He is the new face of WE, taking over Mystic's spot.
38%. His usual average before this series was 31%. His KDA was a total of 5, which is pretty impressive coming into week 5 of the LPL. The fact that you can play so many games and still maintain such a good KDA. Currently 3rd on that list for mid laners. So xiye, massive player for his team. He will be playing as Taliyah in this one. Also has picked up the Unsealed Spellbook for himself.
Yeah, definitely having a higher KDA, 6.25. Just showing off my math skills right there.
There you go,
quick calculations. Yep. Just to talk about the starting positions from each of this side, you can really see TOP. They want to snowball this bot lane as far as they possibly can, having XX start on the top side of the map and heading downwards.
Yeah, for now, it will just be that laning phase is commencing, and we're seeing that Gnar and Gangplank matchup. Once again, Taliyah facing down Ggoong. In the mid lane on Corki, will want to try and scale up. This is a very dangerous composition when you get into the late game from TOP. Just need to get through the mid and early game, which happens to make up most of the game in League of Legends, about 25 to 30 minutes, so best of luck.
Yeah, and we do have to talk about the matchups in the mid lane. Taliyah should have the early push roam potential at level 6 and level 7, but in the late game, Ggoong does slowly get that back a little.
Yeah, Yeah, now xiye pushing back into this mid lane here. He's now moving into the bottom side of the map. And Magic right here, just farming his jungle, moving towards the top side. Actually seeing an invade out from Magic, taking away these Raptors. And XX, he is moving towards the top side of the map, so he will just be seeing this one in a second.
Yeah, this is the pressure coming out from Taliyah that's able to allow Magic to play more aggressively. And this is also Magic's trait by himself. He really likes to hover around xiye. It does feel like them two are a very cohesive duo.
XX going to jump in with the blast current and finds himself Magic, unfortunately, so they're going to start dueling out in the jungle. Just get the lockdown with double buffs, able to jump away, flag drag. Last auto type comes out from Magic and both place down a ward. So we'll look to back away here, as XX was thinking about recalling back to base, so MaRin's able to come down and at the very least stop him from trying to take these crooks, though it seems like he's going to get away with it.
If he gets the EQ on, he could be in a lot of danger.
957 moving up as well, throws down the flag, he was able to stop him. So overall, the Crooks will not be too harmed as they manage to shove Magic out of the jungle right here. Bot lane, we haven't spoken about them there, it will be QiuQiu and Cat chasing down, facing down I should say, Mystic and Celestial right here, so that Caitlyn and Janna. And we were talking about, that early game, will xiye be able to move into the bottom lane, same with Magic, and start punishing that bot lane of Caitlyn and Janna.
They really don't have much time to get damage on that tower. They have to prove Slice's gambit correct. Slice is the coach of TOP, and he really decided to ban the Kalista over the Varus. Varus has a much better matchup into the Caitlyn, but not much played from Mystic. So this really is a gambit where they're betting on Mystic not having a lot of practice on this pick.
We are looking for this gank into the bottom lane. Magic. The flash comes forward from Celestial. He lands the Winters by flag drag, looking for the lockdown. And QiuQiu, he does still have his flash though. Does he want to burn it? Because he's dropping incredibly low right now. Finally flashes away as Cat was unable to get the defense right there. Also burns his heal and the exhaust in the bottom lane. So triple summoners down from TOP.
Still very advantageous for W right there, going in for the gank just because they chunked out XX on the top side of the map. They weren't able to get stable vision to continue the push on the bot side. Magic reading that very well and showing some very veteran senses of the jungle.
Yeah, good stuff coming out there. QiuQiu or Chocho will have to get used to that one. We used to call him QiuQiu for an entire year, Clement. So
yes, I'm definitely going to make you pronounce the names the way they were meant to be pronounced.
Hey man, we tried. Back in Sydney, we're giving it our best, but we didn't really have a MaRin speaker on hand to tell us how to pronounce the name. So we will adapt. It will take a little bit of time, but Chocho here is farming underneath this tower. And Mystic just putting down that pressure. So this Varus lane is getting ahead pretty much exactly all is planned for WE here.
Yep, Chocho's name in Mandarin means balls with a plural.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we used to say choo-choo as in like the, choo-choo chain.
Yeah,
that was like a whole thing.
Could be basketballs or like soccer balls.
Sure, yeah. I see. That's what we'll have to assume. Magic went into the jungle, took away the Raptors there, also had the help of xiye, who was able to push forwards in lane, also give advantage over to that one. XX now in the bottom side of the map, also taking away these wards, trying to deny some vision, also take away the crab right here. Jungle is just on opposite side of the map. Teleport back into the top lane here from MaRin. We'll see if Magic looks to get involved up there, but Gangplank, the dream for Gangplank in top lane is essentially just farm for, I'd say 15 minutes probably, and then just walk onto the map with 3 items.
Taliyah's already roaming to the bottom side of the map, and the Gambit from TOP doesn't look like it's working very well. MaRin hasn't been able to punish the Gangplank, and the bot lane hasn't gotten any damage on the turret whatsoever. So we're really heading into WE's strong phase of the game with no damage being dealt from TOP.
Definitely a problem when the Gangplank is ahead in farm against the Gnar, for sure. XX hasn't really impacted any of these lanes just yet. Maybe waiting until level 6 before he looks to gank one of those lanes. And you really have to look to a lane like the Gnar lane, try and punish this Gangplank. Look towards there, maybe try and align that with Ggoong's special package, try something like that. Currently, Magic's just taking away the red buff.
And he's doing it so free. They have a ward on the throat of TOP by the Raptors. They can tell whenever someone is heading over there, so able to take that buff away fairly scotch-free.
Yeah, XX walks up and is like, well, where's my red buff? Well, at least I still have Krugs at the very least, but MaRin also came down to try and deny that from happening. It was well over and done by the time that had happened. So Magic's already back onto the map right now. Picked up the Balmy Cinder, moving towards that Cinderhawk.
And what's really important is this delays XX time to get his ultimate. And XX is really going to be the one to stem the flow from WE. They have to get something back when W is very strong on the map, and it really does come down to Sejuani and her Glacial Prison. If they don't have that up, it allows W so much more time to make plays.
Yeah, XX right now is a recall and a camp away from level 6, and he's currently doing said recall, but will need a camp, probably moving towards that grub. Also, he has to donate the blue buff over to Ggoong, so there's a lot on the to-do list currently for the Sejuani, and none of those things are gank a lane with ultimate. Magic currently has his level 6 and his Cataclysm and is able to start contesting this blue buff, so XX might not even get to level 6.
No teleports on the top side, so this being Gangplank automatically wins this scenario. They have a 4v4 situation, but they also have Cannon Barrage. TOP, they have to give up this blue buff and try to defend their bottom lane.
It's not like the Caitlyn and the Janna are really going to engage on top of the Varus, so he's safe in the bottom lane. Celestial's able to move up, plus the mid lane coming in from xiye, and Ggoong actually just decides to stay in lane and try and push this one out, so massive loss coming out here.
Yeah, and Ggoong really needs to find some time to get back to his base and pick up the package, or else he's just going to be very, very late when xiye goes into the bot lane. You can also see the bot lane not going very well, even though TOP have the Janna into the Braum matchup, aren't able to push out the lanes at all.
Yeah, bot lane behind in farm, mid lane behind in farm, top lane even, which means behind in farm. Jungle right now also suffering. XX has only just now picked up his level 6 off of those Raptors, so this is his chance to look towards one of those lanes, see if he can find a gank and try and flip the tables, because currently WE are just kind of passively winning this early game, and we already spoke about their mid game.
Yeah, their mid game is incredibly dangerous. So if you look at the mid lane right now, this is the main position that will start the chain of events that will lead to TOP's downfall, is basically whenever she is able to slant off to the right-hand side of the map. We can see Ggoong just went home, picked up the package, and is trying to use that movement speed advantage to try to place wards down here and try to track xiye's movement. But that package is only going to last for a minute, so he has a very limited time to use it, and if it falls off, xiye basically has free reign.
It then becomes whenever xiye wants to use his ultimate, and he's not on a timer whatsoever. Bot lane was pushing forwards, but they're playing pretty safe, moving towards the river. Ggoong actually now moving towards the top lane, thinking, can he maybe find a dive? MaRin has actually gone back to base, so probably not, and will have to burn his ultimate. Just go back to lane.
And xiye definitely knows about it. If you look at the map, the bottom side of the map is warded very well from Magic, so they can also track XX fairly well. They can take a 4v2 whenever they want in the bottom lane, and this does seem like what's going to happen.
Yeah, Magic is actually moving onto the Dragon right here, so he has priority over this one. He has Taliyah coming down on also to assist. And Ggoong, there's nothing really he can do. I mean, he's being zoned away from the play, so Jarvan will pick this up by himself, and then can maybe look towards his bottom lane that's constantly being pushed in. It has been perhaps read out by XX, who is on his way to the bottom lane. Also, the only remaining camp on his map, which is Ggoong.
Oh, but he's already spotted at this point. I thought he was going to do a lane gank, that would be safer, but walking into his Braums right there definitely gave everything away. They can just force the teleport here. You don't need to go on it.
This is a little bit awkward. The wall has come up and the lockdown comes in from Chain of Corruption, but XX is there, so WE decide not to pull the trigger on this one.
Yeah, they're already forced to teleport out from the mid laner, so I actually think the Taliyah wall and Mystic's ultimate were unneeded at all. That seemed like a communication mistake from WE, and that does hurt their tempo quite a bit.
As resuming this laning phase now, this Caitlyn really just trying to do anything in this bottom lane, but drafting into this Varus, obviously a major issue. And plus this Janna isn't really paying off right now, so we'll just zone away the bottom lane, try and get this farm underneath tower, but over time we're just losing more and more. 3-wave advantage now over to Mystic mid lane, 3-wave advantage over to xiye. And then top lane, Gangplank is barely behind. He's probably ahead right now in terms of gold. So every time we check in on these gold totals, WE constantly winning.
It's such a relief for WE fans. 957 pulling his weight in that matchup, holding MaRin at bay, even ahead in gold at this point. If you look at his items, he even has a Targon. So with the gold generation items and with Kleptomancy, he should be fairly far ahead. I'd say even 1k gold ahead.
Yeah, you'd expect so at just 12 minutes into this one, and TOP need to look for something, you know, kind of around now-ish, but like it seems like a lot of these windows have closed. You know, Ggoong didn't manage to make anything happen with a special package. XX, he got his ultimate, but it's been 2 levels since he's managed to do so. Not really able to find a gank either.
I would say it's actually on W's side to force the action, but TOP are not making their jobs easy for them. They're not winning the matchups they drafted themselves, and that's the big concern out of this team composition. But so far, W, they want to be even further ahead in this matchup. If you're looking about 20 minutes, they really need about 5k.
XX looking for a play in the mid lane. Glacial Prison misses, and Ggoong will have to back away from this one. She actually delivers a lot of damage onto that Corki.
They still have a lot of time to make things happen for WE. We talked about 20-minute mark. That's when we really need to come back and check the gold leads again. They still have 7 minutes off from that. And with the Herald, it's pretty much, I'd say they should be 3 objectives up fairly easily. The bot lane and the Herald.
For sure, able to kind of crack this outer layer of turrets. Start getting this one rolling. But for sure, I mean, you look towards a pick like Gangplank and also the bottom lane who's already winning. It's like, yes, the onus is on WE to make a play, but I mean, they're already ahead, and Gangplank he's probably going to hit like 2 items in a couple minutes from now, so that's probably like when we start seeing these item breakpoints, that's when, you know, WE are going to start turning on, because Guinsoo's picked up essentially for free in the bottom lane. Like, we saw 0 pressure down onto the Varus, so he's over that power slump. That's now the Herald picked up for WE, so now the tempo is definitely on their side. They can just place that wherever they want, try and make a play with it.
Yeah, the early gank helping out massively for WE. Usually when you're in a Janna versus Braum matchup, even though the Varus is favored over the Caitlyn, top should still come out ahead, but because of that early burning of summoners, they were kept relatively in check. Really haven't been able to put any damage onto the tower at all.
MaRin just being a bit frustrating there, stopping the recall out from Magic. That is also a nice little invade there from XX and Ggoong, who, knowing that Herald had gone down, moved towards the red buff, took that one away, so that will be a small prize, consolation prize for them.
And it's really interesting to see where the Herald is going to be placed, because if they place it bot lane, they could almost instantly get an objective. But I still think that with this composition, they do want to get the mid lane tower down a little bit faster. The enemy team is running a very turtle-heavy style, so you do want the mid lane tower down first, as opposed to the bot lane. It's really the question of how is W going to make that happen.
I mean, there's a good amount of chip damage already on the tower, and Ggoong is looking for the recall right now, so if WE are aware, there is a opportunity here for them to look for it. They're in fact just trying to kill the crab right now and look towards the bottom lane, which seems to be where the play is going to happen. That tower is actually almost within Herald kill range. Mystic locked down, in comes Celestial for the save. Nice double knock-up right now. Monsoon comes in, but the Caitlyn is low as well. Magic, he's waiting around the corner, staying out of Fog of War, hoping that TOP will push into them. In comes the teleport, but that one is swiftly cancelled.
Yeah,
another re-engage. Magic, that's going in once again with the Cataclysm. In comes the wall. Gangplank ultimate also down to try and defend. And Magic chasing down onto XX out of mana, but in comes a teleport now from MaRin, who is almost mega, but not quite there yet. He can jump in if he wants to, but he is very low. Has to change just to get the extra health right there.
And that was such smart play from 957. Basically, he stayed in his own lane and chipped MaRin out. So even though MaRin was at perfect rage blade, at perfect rage, when he came down, he couldn't enter the fight. He was already at half health.
So all in all, no kills happen, but we still have the pressure coming in from WE. 2 versus 4, not really going to happen. And the tower will eventually fall, though. It takes a bit of a beating here, but the rest of the team is able to keep the minion wave alive. And Janna, being annoying as a Janna will, just shielding up the turret, buying a little bit of extra time right here. As Ggoong is just sending him a nice little rocket to send him going.
Yeah, Magic did not need to expend the Herald to get that bot lane tower.
Flash
so
coming up there.
Have it for the mid.
It's just a little bit awkward here, Clement, because you know, Cat had to flash out of that one, but it seems like the full disengage has finally come out.
Yeah, they just wanted to waste some time from WE. Hopefully this will lead into a Ocean Drake for TOP. But they shouldn't be really looking for this bot lane tower. Don't really have the minion wave to take it. I still think going for the Drake is enough.
Yeah, like they're definitely thinking about it. I mean, the minion wave's coming in, but there's still multiple people around here to defend from WE, and Jarvan's on the way. TOP are going to look towards the dragon right now. We've got xiye coming down, and the Gangplank is getting involved. So there's 5 members here from WE. They could look for this contest. It's already down to 2,000 HP.
They are behind on a couple of backs, though.
Spike comes down. It goes over to Magic, who steals it away. QiuQiu getting caught out as well. The chase down comes in, and the Winter's Bite will seal his fate. In with the kill. First blood to Taliyah.
Finally, first blood coming out 17 minutes into the game. Very late, and I really think that's the hesitancy of TOP.
Oh, wow. Ggoong was caught out on the wards, and xiye has chased him down. Stopped the recall! What was that? Blown up on the spot. I mean, he's still going to die, but managed to take one with him.
And this has been a really hectic chain of events. The first mistake was from TOP. They shouldn't even have looked at that bottom lane tower. They should have just straight went to Ocean Drake and then reset the map. WE thinking, realizing that they could get kills off of that, decides that Mystic doesn't need to back, sends him into the fight and picks up the first blood. And afterwards, TOP just kind of on a tailspin, just losing another 2 members pretty freely to WE.
Yeah, definitely getting a little bit lost right here. And there's the steal coming in, the 2-man gang squad, steal away the Dragon and QiuQiu, unfortunately just getting caught off the back end of this.
A lot of it really is about small tempo details. You want to maximize the time where you're in the advantage and not really use anything when you can't get the objectives. And Ggoong just in a really awkward position, gets caught out by xiye, pays his life for it. Does get a kill for it, though.
Yeah, that was from 100 to 0 as well. Ggoong, with the amount of side steps he was left to right, dodging all these skill shots, buying enough time for him to put down the damage. Pretty impressive, honestly, coming out from Ggoong on that 1-item power spike. Had the Triforce at the time, and I believe the Sork boots. So able to at least salvage something out of that, which is nice. You know, Corki does want to scale into that late game. That will just give him a nice little pat on the back.
Yeah, and with that kill, they almost take down the mid tower as well. So TOP's mistakes leading to leads.
Well, just because of the outplay, really.
Yeah. Just getting a couple of outplays here and there, getting themselves back from mistakes.
Yeah, definitely helpful. WE still have that 1 tower advantage in the bottom lane. However, it's not a mid lane tower that you were talking about, Clement, so it will make it harder for WE to completely take apart this game in the mid game. And we are very rapidly approaching the 20-minute mark, which is what we said is going to be our check-in time for WE and look towards their gold. And right now, they're around 4,000 gold ahead, which is pretty respectable.
Yep, it's okay, but I think they could be up even more.
MaRin very angry with the red buff. Will kill that one. Now getting chased down by the Gangplank. Ggoong dodging out of the way of the flick, and will be safe. In comes the Gangplank ultimate on top of MaRin. It is raining, but 957, he's still looking for the chase. Gets the movement speed. The flash comes out. Parlay comes down, turns around. Wallop comes out. Has the barrel ready to go. Gets another movement speed, but MaRin, he's still running away. He has the hypercharge. Oh, Magic, he's here to ruin the fun. And 957, Parlay for the kill.
Yeah, a bit of an overextension right there from MaRin, trying to go for another red buff, but instead hands it over to the opponent top laner. Just kind of weird series of play because XS was on the other side of the map right there, just overextending.
It was a solo mission. It was a high risk, high reward. Almost got out, but it was because of pesky Magic there to assist in the bottom lane. So yeah, it was just it was a risk that didn't work out. Though 957 seems like he might get caught out in the bottom lane. XX, he has the ultimate ready to go, lands it, but the oranges come out. Ggoong looking for the follow right here, just have that Valkyrie, but he's already out, so it's an ultimate for nothing.
I've been incredibly impressed by 957. I didn't expect he would be able to hold the lane against MaRin and also solo him, basically, in the red buff. So, you know, this champion, 957, has played Gnar most of his games. Gangplank is his second most played, but hasn't really looked the sharpest on the champion until today.
And frankly, it's just impressive that the backbone of WE are able to make this happen, because it's a team who have strived for that cohesion for the team. Like, you have 5 members and they stick together. Sometimes 0 comes in international events, but apart from that, it's pretty much been the same 5 guys on WE for the longest time. So the fact they're able to integrate, you know, Magic into the team, like he's playing around mid lane, he's all assists this game, and you know, Celestial is able to do stuff in the bottom lane as well, and actually just lane alongside Mystic. You know, like Mystic, he knows how to play alongside Ben, and also Zero from time to time. But to have an entirely new partner is just quite frankly impressive.
And it really is about the solo laners stepping up in the absence of the other players here for WE. Very good games from xiye, very good games so far from 957, and they still have a lead in this game. They still have a very strong dragon fighting team, and guess what the next dragon is? It's an Infernal Drake. So if TOP don't handle this very well, it could be a complete wash.
Yeah, problematic. Mystic comes down, clears out that ward, moves to the top side of the map. With the duo lane up there, bottom lane is going to be a Corki versus a Gangplank matchup. It's 957 versus Ggoong right now, as that xiye will be holding up the middle lane, looking to rotate around there. Cat heading back to base now as well, and pretty much no stopwatches being used this game. We have a lot of stopwatches, but not many broken ones. So that will be up and available for the next fight, which you'd have to assume is going to be around that Infernal Dragon.
You can see Ggoong, even with the CS advantage, doesn't want any part of 957 in that bot lane. It's very hard to fight Gangplank in those bot lanes, because if he's there first, he can set up his barrels, and you walk into them, he can solo kill you. So really smart play from Ggoong.
I'm not really sure who has to jump on who right now. I have to assume WE who have just locked down XX. Lock him down once again with the concussive blows. and then choose to back away. So XX is down to half, doesn't have the Warmogs just yet, so that damage will stick.
Smart play from WE right there. It's very bad terrain to face a Gnar in that chokehold. He could very easily get a 3-man ultimate, and they didn't have vision on where Corki was. So back out immediately. I would have said that if they wanted to do this, they, you know, it's either a full commit or it's just kind of like a poke. You don't really need to use your ultimates if you're going to back out as soon as you did.
And W hovering around the Baron still. Multiple control wards have gone down. Actually sending Varus back up to meet the Gnar. In fact, flag drag. Looking for Ggoong right now, but he does still have the Valkyries returning with the damage. In comes Taliyah, but it's the look down out from XX. That was fantastic. QiuQiu looking for the assassinate, looking for the snipe. Doesn't quite find it.
Yeah, that was very close from Chocho. He actually misplaced the traps. If he got them, xiye would have been dead right there. Forces him to burn all of his flashes. And I feel like W really jumped the gun in this scenario because they could have taken a very strong fight just going to the Infernal Drake first, but they opted to go for a pick that didn't work out.
Magic over the wall looking for the smite steal, but it will be secured by XX. Magic. That was very early in from Magic, and now he's blocked down inside the pit. Knockup comes through. He hops over the wall, and Ggoong unable to follow with the Glacial Fissure coming down in from Celestial. But WE losing the important dragon right there, the Infernal, and when you look at a scaling team like TOP, all of a sudden not looking so bad.
Yeah, that was incredibly botched from WE. The mid lane kind of catch was completely unnecessary. They could just set up inside of the Infernal Drake, and TOP would have had to walk into Gangplank.
The good old Death Rush coming in from Team WE finds Cat. It's raining hell right now. Just managed to...
Does he survive this? No.
No, he definitely doesn't, but it was good timing. On the perfect timing coming in from that piercing arrow, but Cat will still die in the end. There's a red buff going over to Mystic, and it will be the pick. So they get a consolation prize.
A very fanatic move right there. When in doubt, sit in a rush, and sit in with all 5 people. And that definitely worked out for W. They feigned kind of a Baron push right there, and with Cat face checking, easy kill.
However, on the bottom side of the map, you have Ggoong pushing by himself, taking this tower. So, honestly, in terms of cross-map play, a kill for a tower, not so bad in the end for TOP. Starting to even up this gold total just a little bit. They are 6,000 gold behind right now. A lot of that, you have to think, is probably on the Gangplank, who's on 3 kills to 0 deaths, 0 assists, and 246 farm right now. Plus, he's Gangplank with Kleptomancy, so he's sat on 3 items at just 24 minutes.
If you look at the item discrepancy between 957 and MaRin, it's 1.5 items. That's how far ahead 957 is at this point. He can basically split push against MaRin and really flip the tables, bring that 4-1 pressure onto TOP.
Yeah, and usually that is what TOP are looking for right here. So WE moving towards this mid-game. They have options to try and open this one up, but it is concerning because TOP, their goal, get to the late game. There's hyper scaling coming in from the Caitlyn and the Corki. Obviously going to be a major damage threat as we get later on into this game. And right now we're 25 minutes in the game, and it's still going to take, I'd say, like at least 5 to 10 to 15 minutes to close this one out if you're WE.
Yeah, so WE are going to have that one Baron chance to kind of draw TOP out, and that's going to be their big moment in the game. If they can get 5 kills, get Baron off of that, then it's smooth sailing. But if TOP can avoid to manage any of these Baron traps, then they have a very good look into the late game.
MaRin, he's located kill in the top lane. You'd have to think xiye jumps away. Magic comes in with the Cataclysm, and Ggoong still providing fire.
No flash
trying to get MaRin out of this one, but he is definitely dead. And Celestial, with the follow-up as well. Perfect prediction on the flash coming in. That will secure a kill onto the mid laner and top laner.
Much faster rotations coming in from W, really pulling the trigger with that Jarvan. MaRin being forced to use his flash very early on, and now they're going straight into Baron.
Taliyah walling off all 3 remaining members of TOP, and specifically XX, who's unable to make it into the pit right now. The wall has dissipated. Can he make it in, though? That's the chance for him to turn this game. They're moving on to XX. He's just getting destroyed behind the pit. QiuQiu now trying to kite away in this 1 vs 1 against 957. But WE with Mystic and Magic in the pit, able to smite it away. And that is what we were looking for, Clement. 3 kills and the Baron for WE.
Yeah, that's the big play for WE. Now, if you look at the gold lead, it's almost 10k, so their mid-game composition has been worth it. They've been able to go over the threshold. And such beautiful play from xiye right there, just cutting off all members of TOP, forcing them to go on the offensive and really walk into him. And you can see how big 957 is. That was pretty much 1 barrel, and XX lost half his health.
Yeah. Breaking open this game now, WE, let's see what they can do with this Baron buff, because needs to definitely do step 2, which is knock down these towers, but already they've had such a big gold advantage in this game. Well, they have such a big gold advantage in this game as they look to push down the middle lane tower right here. MaRin He's almost full rage bar. He's looking for this engage.
Bar.
This is a fantastic position to look for the Gnar ultimate into the wall. He's locked down Mystic right now, but the rest of the team can't quite get in there. He's able to free fire onto Ggoong. That's going to be 1 kill, 2 kills. Both carries down from TOP. Now Celestial turns on to XX, and it's just wiping up the rest of the team fight right here. Magic chasing down MaRin, that still has the ultimate at the end of this one. Looking for the lockdown, didn't quite find it. A 1-for-3 trade and the tower for WE.
Very good play coming out from WE, even though MaRin had a perfect rage bar. I think Ggoong, without his flash, just went in way too early. Magic was able to get the knock-up and the follow-up damage on him, and that pretty much ended the fight for TOP. So, very good attempt, but kind of lacking on the execution.
Yeah, definitely, because the idea was good, and I find myself saying this a lot about TOP. The idea is good, but then the execution in the moment, not quite there. You know, it looked so good. MaRin coming in from behind with the flank and the ultimate ready to go, but they couldn't really get the follow-up damage onto Mystic, and by the time Ggoong got in, like, fighting range of him, Mystic just turned around and just shot him down.
There was too much standing in between Ggoong and Mystic's position. If they were able to probably, like, throw Mystic backwards and instantly kill him, there was a chance in the fight. But it was a kind of a risky play. It looked good on paper, but you also have to remember they had a Caitlyn. They had a chance to really stall out at the inhibitors. That could have been another line that they went for. Unfortunately, just a little bit shy on the execution to make this line work.
Right now, I'm just looking at the Bank of Blank, who is currently on 4 items, 502, almost has 300 farm. This guy is literally swimming in gold as he moves towards the bottom lane right here with Mystic. We'll take away the next inner turret as they move towards the next inhibitor, which is the goal here from WE. And they still have a little bit of Baron. They have maybe 2 waves left of this Baron.
Not a lot of damage coming out from Chocho. He actually didn't get many auto attacks off at all. 2 traps stepped on by 957, but no headshots.
No, he's got 3 items, so he should theoretically hurt on some of these squishies, but the front line's able to step forwards from WE, and now they can start chipping away at the tower. And Chocho really just has to try and focus down these minions. He's trying his best, but it's down to a third. Mystic with a fantastic cleanse, gets out of the glacial prison and immediately turns onto his aggressor. XX evaporates.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate from 957. So he got 3 barrels and then a parlay, but no crits onto Chocho. The entirety of W was kind of waiting on the right side to just work and walk in, but still TOP, you know, going in on them, they were still able to pick up XX and continue the siege right here.
Again, with the minion wave coming in, the zoning fissure comes in from Celestial. He's pretty low, needs to dodge Chocho's damage, but he just backed on out. And with another tower down, that's another exposed inhibitor. However, Chocho, or rather Ggoong, he does have the special package. He might choose to go in right here. It would be risky, but at this point in time, TOP needs something crazy.
Yeah, very good comeback damage is going to force W to walk away very, very far for their own resets. This is going to give a lot of breathing room to TOP. They're really looking at their kind of 4-item spikes at this point to carry on. And that fight, it could have gone a lot better for WE. It was basically hinging on just 1 successful barrel, and I don't think TOP would be able to hold. And RNG really on TOP's side right there. That could have been a lot worse.
Oh, teleport coming down. In from Celestial. Well. He gets the lockdown. In comes xiye, but there's a lot of damage in return. Nah, it finds the flick. Down goes Ggoong. 50 seconds on that death time. It looks like they will be able to pick up this inhibitor.
Yep, not enough people to really defend here. The question is WE going to push into the Nexus turrets?
Oh man, good old spellbook, the classic teleporting Braum, able to find that flank onto Ggoong. He has to back away, and not even the special package could save him. Lockdown comes down to MaRin, he flashes away and crunches to safety. But now MaRin unable to get involved in this fight if there was ever going to be one. Inhibitor's dead, now moving to the mid lane, pushing in this mid wave. They have super minions ready to go. Looks like they may look towards these Nexus turrets here, see if they can try and test their luck. Chocho moving forwards, but he doesn't really do any damage right now. MaRin pushing forwards, and XX, he's trying to provide that front line for the team, but Ggoong really just waiting on that death time and try and get this Corki back into the fight. Redemption comes down, buys a little bit of time, but the objective is already slain, and that's what WE were essentially looking for, just take down a Nexus turret.
Yeah, and you could see the 957 damage right there. He landed 1 barrel and forces Chocho to go back straight to the fountain, and that's how they kind of forced the fight on TOP and took that Nexus tower right there. Now, TOP did have a chance to kind of come back and slow the entire thing down, but they didn't really have the courage to kind of force that and have Ggoong come in. That was a potential play they had. MaRin already forced to use his flash early on, pretty much prohibited them from going into that.
You see situations are becoming very difficult for TOP, not only because 2 inhibitors are down, but triple Ocean Dragon means that WE can almost infinitely siege forever, because they can just sit, wait for their regen to come in, continue pushing out, and especially with Baron spawning in 1 minute, WE seems to have complete control over this map. A 13,000 goal lead over TOP, have played this exceptionally well coming out of that mid game.
I will say, however, they don't have the best siege composition into high ground, outside of just Gangplank landing some barrels. And that's why I've been talking about the effect of 957 against Chocho. If Chocho can really hold the line, he can really stall out W's compositions. The only turret damage they can get is Mystic walking up into Sejuani and Ggoong range. So I don't think that's a very good idea for them. For WE, they're probably going to try to goad out a fight in the next couple of minutes around this Baron.
A fight, a Baron, all going to be big win objectives for WE, though I do challenge that slightly since there are 2 inhibitors down as one has just respawned, so kind of goes against my point, but they're so far ahead right now that yes, while they maybe aren't good in low ground versus high ground into the base, you just kind of engage and just run at them.
Yep, even Jedis can't really win against the high ground, so
True.
WE looking to buy their time. They're looking for a 5v5 fight outside of a siege scenario, but these quarters are also very dangerous. Whenever MaRin is in Mega Gnar, he can instantly get a 3-man Gnar ult, so you have to play this incredibly safe.
Yeah, stepping forwards, clearing away vision, that's the goal right now from WE. While that was a bit of chip damage on 957, he's Gangplank, he's got oranges, he's got the Ocean Dragon as well, so a lot of this damage that's going on to WE is not going to stick if you're TOP. XX is currently sat on top of a ward.
Dangerous.
Oh man,
no.
face checking as well. Not like this. XX will die by himself, and TOP just need to get out of that jungle.
That was really unfortunate. The team still had sweepers, but they weren't coordinated enough to really use them correctly. So instead, XX just goes into a straight face check and loses his life.
And we'll lose the Baron on top of this as well, because TOP absolutely cannot challenge this whatsoever without the jungler. Probably the worst person to die in that scenario. Corki is able to go to the bottom lane and pick up an extra bit of farm, but this is essentially the calm before the storm right now, because it will be coming to TOP.
Yeah, and they don't really have enough items to make use of their late game advantages. Chocho getting caught out here as well.
Chocho and Cat so far out, tries to hit the blast cone, but instead hits the Taliyah coming in, blown up on the spot. 957 does so much damage.
That was really good, well played from 957. He basically used the barrel as a bait. Chocho tried to turn around and hit it, didn't time it well. And now we're here.
And Magic comes in with the Cataclysm, locks in 2 people with him. And right now, WE, they've corralled TOP away from their base. They've split up XX from the rest of his team. So this is a bit of an interesting scenario. They are pushing into the inhibitor now. Ggoong in a 1v1 against Mystic, but it's not going to be a 1-for-1 forever. The Chain of Corruption misses. But Ggoong, he's knocked up. He's taken down. 2 kills over to WE. They look towards the inhibitor.
WE screaming to their opponents, I have the high ground, and basically rolling them outside of their own base. All really snowballing from that face check coming from TOP, so good plays all around, but inexperienced, uncoordinated, really leads to their downfall.
Tower down, and while WE lost 1 game in this series, they're able to bring it back with a demolition of a 3rd game, taking the 2-1.
Yeah, and this series really comes down to the early gambit being played by Slythe, TOP's coach right there, betting that Mystic would not reach for the Varus pick. Once that pick was locked in, you could really see WE's bot lane doing very well for themselves. And also, I feel like the man of the match this time around was 957 in the top lane. He's been having a pretty quiet season overall, but that Gangplank performance was absolutely legendary. So, held his own against MaRin, and in the late game was able to catch out Chocho multiple times.
Yeah, fully agree with you. I mean, we were looking towards xiye for Game 1, Game 2, and actually the previous sets before this one for WE, but 957, who I would actually say is just straight up underperforming so far in this split. From what we know, he's capable of, right? Like, 957 was also quiet last year in the spring season, goes into playoffs, looks like an entirely different player, picks up the Kled, picks up the Fizz, and like, hang on, who's this guy? He's entirely different, and from scrims, you know, a lot of top lanes were touting this guy as an extremely strong player. We hadn't really seen it on stage, but right now, it seems like this is where the ramp is coming for 957.
Definitely. 957, known as the femur of the team, the bone that really keeps WE standing, finally showing why today. A really good performance from him, a breakout performance for him even, and it does show that LPL, we do have the native top laners to stop the Korean imports. It's not all about the xiye and MaRin. We do have our homegrown talents that can stand up against them.
Yeah, even Duke nowadays as well, though we haven't seen him for a little while. But for sure, MaRin, he was the crux of a lot of the strategies coming in from TOP. And while they managed to find game 1, which was impressive against WE, and found a massive lead in that second game, seems like experience from the backbone of WE, able to win out in the end. So the fact that they are finding this flexibility despite not having Condi and Ben right now, impressive stuff from WE.
Massive win for WE, keeps them one head against of the surging FPX, clinging on to that last playoff position. And if you look at the stats here, fairly smooth sailing for them. Only really mess up that Infernal Drake. That's the only blemish I would say they had in this game, but otherwise it's very smooth.
Yeah, looking at the damage totals as well, xiye still leading this one. Actually surprised that 957 is so low, though. I guess a lot of it was those burst damage on the barrels coming out, chunking out targets in the jungle.
Yeah, he could have had a lot more crits. Was not very lucky on that high ground siege right there. I was just keeping my eyes glued on that point. It was like 3 times, no crits. It's like, oh, 957. I pity you, you know. Sometimes that happens with the Gangplank players, but still a great game from him overall. Really good stuff coming in from 957 and the rest of the team as well from WE. But as we were saying before, this was a very important win for WE to pick up because this should be a freebie. You know, like, yes, TOP have grown fangs and they are a difficult team to take down now. It's not just like a simple roll over, but they had to win this because, as you said, FPX are right behind them. They almost have equal wins to them right now. And as soon as FPX start playing people in their own group once again, they could overtake WE. So getting these quote-unquote like easy wins is very important for WE. Yeah, and they can't fall too far behind until Condi and the big guns really come back into the team, if they do at whatever point they choose to. It's really about them holding their standings together right now and waiting for them.
Exactly, trying to accelerate into the playoffs, try and make that run. We are in week 5 right now, so plenty of time to play towards that one for WE. That's going to do it from myself and Clement. However, we are going to send it over to the analyst desk to take a look at the series.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. And WE, with closing out that series, we have done it. We have reached the 50% mark, the halfway point of the split, Raz.
Where's the confetti?
Can you... Yeah, I know. We're going to throw some confetti. We're actually using your notebook to make the confetti. We've got Fish and Rusty in the back slowly tearing up the pages. It wasn't ready in time, but soon they'll be coming out here and just throwing paper all over the place. But hey, let's get into this matchup. WE taking the win, closing out the series 2-1 over TOP. They did drop game 1, so we're not as proud or as happy as we would like to be for this team, but they still showed that stereotypical late game form that we expect from them in game 3.
Yeah, with an early game touch, honestly, because the late game form, of course, we're referring to the GP. Yeah. It really was looking good for 957 as the game went on. You could see that he just had full build, and you're like, wait a minute, he's just critting everybody, so that's nice to see from him. But the early game touch was, of course, back to xiye. xiye had a phenomenal set. I mean, I feel like I'm just going back and forth about, man, every WE set seems to be an incredible set for xiye because he's having a standout performance this season. So, once again, has the Taliyah pick. Early roam towards the bottom side of the map nets them a lot of pressure, even though no kills came about it in the early game dive, I suppose. Yeah. There was so much expended from TOP to disengage from that, even utilizing the TP from MaRin, that 957 had a free laning phase, had a lot of 2-3 waves and free hit on turret just because of that pressure, and we constantly had to, I guess, gauge where xiye was going to be heading next, because a lot of the times he was able to get free kills for his team.
Yeah, I mean, we do have to commend TOP for being so squirrely for a lot of these fights. There were so many times where we were like, wait, how did WE get there? Why are TOP just scattered after the end of that fight? Yeah. Because they didn't want the fight. They knew that they were suffering, they were behind in that pressure, and they wanted to try to drag it out, so they kind of split in different directions. But WE were so insistent on hounding them down. xiye with the mid to bottom chase to try to get the kill onto Ggoong at the very end.
Yep.
It didn't quite work out. I mean, he finally got that kill, but traded back his life, so 2 for 1.
Yeah, and here's the thing. This is why it was so difficult for TOP to kind of find any form of engage onto this team. Sure, they were bleeding out bottom side, but the same thing happened in the top side of the map. So they're trying to get any form of wards down, any form of pick potential. But when I was in the back, I was looking at the pick ban, I saw the Janna, and I was like, man. Immediately from game 1 to game 2, I was thinking, we were talking about having clear, definitive focus from the team. If they were having difficulties in picking up fights with the Leona, because later on in the game, obviously, they dropped the ball, so they got outscaled, I was like, well, find something that can find that fight. I guess an orange support is one of them. Cat could play that. Maybe a Thresh, though that also descales of the game, but it still has the pick potential going forward. Something that kind of has a very clear, definitive point for your team. Maybe even pick up the Alistar. But they didn't get that. They got the Janna. And the reason why I'm kind of criticizing the Janna pick is because if you were finding difficulties in picking fights beforehand, now you have Janna, your only engage is the Sejuani, and you don't have follow-up for that. Or the Gnar, who built the rapid-fire cannon.
Black Fever, Frozen Mallet.
So he's thinking about sticking to side lane, so when he finally joins up for fights, they just don't have the tankiness to consistently stay in the fight. So you go behind in the composition, you have no way to come back in, nor do you have the cohesion and coordination to pick up fights with your team. So I was like, all right.
Yeah,
that's a BG.
Didn't quite work out for them. But we do have to commend WE. Yes. Magic is going to take our man of the match for that Game 3 on the likes of that Jarvan. And with that MVP, that puts him at 0-0-12. This is the communication that I think people were expecting from someone who's supposed to be Kandi's substitute, because Kandi is so vital, so important to Team WE, and then you put in Magic, and suddenly you can see what it looks like when he's not there, and Magic, when he lives up to it, it looks good.
It got better, and it got better, of course, formerly known as Taliyah for their sub-team, I guess, their LSPL teams, getting onto the stage, having to take down TOP. Sure, you think that's an easy step, but there's a lot of expectations in filling Kandi's shoes, and with the current standing that they're in, there's a lot of pressure, and I think he lived up for it, at least in the last game.
Yeah.
That being said, going forward, it feels like I would think, looking into this game, that xiye really put out an MVP performance. Going into future games, it feels like it's going to be xiye time and time again. So if Magic can kind of continuously output what he did in Game 3, then I think we'll see better things coming out of W.
Yeah, I mean, we would certainly expect for a team that has this caliber, that went to the World Semifinals. I can't say it enough. This was a great team just a few months ago. Now they're middle of the pack just a few months later. So we hope to see them recover and that things go well for them. Now let's turn our attention to TOP and close out our thoughts on this as well, because MaRin comes in and he sticks to Gnar. He doesn't decide to hard carry this game. He plays his side lane. He tries to go in for the big flank. I can see you're thinking there.
I would say that it is tough meta for MaRin to come in, because this has been a changing meta towards the Scions, the Shogaths, the Orns, and if he's coming in to carry for the team, well, first of all, you already have like a kind of unique kind of style. But the unique style you saw from the earlier set today, Flounder is like, all right, I'm moving away from that. I'm going to the Shen already. So like, it wasn't working for him until the Game 3. I think that MaRin wants to be able to move towards that. But if that's the case, if he ends up moving towards a tank lineup, we get back to the same question of who's going to carry for this team.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be really difficult for him in that sort of scenario. We've actually got our updated standings now for TOP, still at the bottom of the standings at 1-9, tied with Vici. Of course, with this win, WE get one step closer to that first place. And would you look at that, 5 teams fighting for 4 spots in the West Conference.
Yep. And I mean, if you're not going to be here for the next week and the week after, well, you have to catch up.
You got to be here.
You really do, because the standings can change so quickly just based off that. With just one win, WE already tied with FPX in terms of just the 5-5. So one win, I mean, even tomorrow, I believe an FPX game is going to be coming up. So if that's going to be the case, then FPX can take that one step forward. And it feels like in a time in which the Western Conference are losing a lot of games up against the East, it gives us a one opportunity for maybe WE to take a few more steps forward and find themselves in playoff position.
Well, we did have 2 wins for the West today, though we did get to see Snake close out their series against Suning, so it is now 15-13
there we go.
In terms of cross-conference. So it's still very close to even for these two, though currently the East is going to lead by 2 at that 15 and the West at 13 for the other ones. But you actually mentioned FPX a few moments ago. We do get a chance to see them tomorrow taking on RNG in our next matchup. Shortly thereafter, we've got Ggoong taking on EDG. So another chance to see these teams clash.
And EDG, I'm just going to jump right to the second set, need to take a victory. They've been having a rough time at things. 2 losses in a row, of course. 1 to Rogue Warriors, and then the next 2 Invictus Gaming. You kind of expect to lose to Invictus Gaming with how strong they were, but man, the way they lost to it, feels bad for EDG. Going up against Ggoong, you have to take that victory.
Yeah, they certainly do. Of course, we saw them sort of suffer that emotional loss against Rogue Warriors the day before that as well. So this is the time for EDG to try to turn it back around. You know, Ggoong, kind of a middle-of-the-pack team, a chance for them to reclaim some morale, reclaim some momentum. Of course, in our first match, we've also got FPX versus RNG. Uzi, man.
Oh, yeah.
He's back. He's on fire. But that's not always enough for RNG.
I don't know, man. I'm just gonna. This is when I take a step back, because here's the thing. You think add 180 carry.
Yeah.
Does that change the style of a team? Ordinarily does not. But Uzi does change that style for your team. Because previously, we were seeing a lot more focus towards maybe mid lane, for working for Xiaohu, maybe top lane a little bit now that they have Zatai. But now you're bringing in Uzi, and a lot of the times, that just changes your style to be a lot more bot lane centric, a lot more bot lane heavy. So I like the addition for the team for RNG, not only because obviously he's a strong player,
of course,
best 80 carries of all time, but now it just changes your team to play around a lot more of a focus bottom side. Early game pressure.
Yeah, and this is where we look at the likes of the jungle Karsa and seeing how he's playing around the bottom half of the map. Zatai in the top lane is just so happy to split push and do things that he's always done.
Yep, and I mean, they've always had the strength in paper. Just saying, hey, you know what, they have strong players. They just needed a strong focus. Hopefully, this gives them that focus.
It very well could be the opportunity for them to try to find it. They'll need that focus against the brawlers of FPX. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for us. We're all wrapped up. We are at the halfway point, and it's only going to get more exciting from here, Rez.
Yes, it will. And you know what? Tomorrow's another day, new week. We already talked about the sets in there, so hopefully I'm going to be there just to cast for that one.
Yeah, it's going to be hype as heck. Well, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be seeing you in just a few short hours, about 20 or so, before the matches start once again. But thank you for watching on behalf of myself, my co-casters, my analysts, and the whole broadcast crew. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.